Hey, welcome to Women Atheists Unload, the show by women for everyone. Today's topic, naughty or nice.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray.
Nice intro.
Hey, Mary.
Hello.
How you doing today? Have you been naughty or nice?
Look, I'll let my shirt speak. It says it's me. I'm the problem. Hi, everybody. Have I been naughty? I don't know. Do you call it naughty when I'm laughing at this, I don't know, stuff called, Boss Bitch Math book? Have you seen that? I'm just
I don't know. Sounds pretty naughty.
Depends on what your definition of naughty is. What is that, Stephanie?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that a boss bitch is necessarily naughty. It might be from certain points of view. What's the point of view of the book?
Well, I guess you could say it's described as a boss bitches come in all colors, shapes, and sizes. They brag of their independence, intelligence, entrepreneurship, and wealth. But when one puts a calculator to their rhetoric, the math just doesn't add up. Yet the damage they cause to their families and communities is in the trillions. Boss bitch math sheds light on their struggle, which is very real. It's a description of how feminism, hypergamy, the hashtag movement, and a culture plagued with mental illness and delusion have destroyed the future of American families. That's it, y'all.
Sounds like hell in a handbasket. Looks to me like, looking at the thing, it looks like there's one review and it's 5 stars. 5 stars. I wonder if the author is the reviewer.
Should we go review it? This is my favorite part.
Okay.
Does that equation make sense to you?
IH bar, I got IH bar. I forget what that one is. Is that sigma over sigma time? It's not sigma. I don't remember what that Greek letter is. Anyway, no, I'm not a physicist. I don't know, but I do know that the Schrodinger equation is somewhat fundamental to quantum mechanics. But it's kind of weird that people will use quantum mechanics as an excuse for everything.
Like, how is this gonna work? Hold up. Efforts to change this include fighting against gender stereotypes. Well, I guess we're one of them. We are the problem, but they are naughty for saying that. Did you see this description? Strong women from birth.
Yeah.
Are you
consider
ready?
themselves equal to men? Okay. Is there a problem with that, do you think?
I'm pretty sure that's a problem for some people. Assertive.
It's probably the biggest problem. The problem for the people that it's a problem for are the men who consider themselves superior to women, perhaps.
Perhaps. It is possible.
Yeah.
Also, why do we need a man to explain to us what femininity is and what feminists are?
Because they're men and they mansplain. It goes with the territory. or at least it went with the territory, and people started saying, both men and women started saying, "Hey, wait a minute, that's ridiculous." She's right. Well, listen to what she said about this thing. It's, she's right about that. Yeah, I know, but it wasn't a guy who said it.
But you know what? This is ridiculous.
It hurts my fifi somehow or another.
I have never seen anything, again, and I know I've heard people say this before, but we're going to keep saying it because it's true. I've never seen anyone or anything more fragile than whose ego? The ego of a cishet white man. That's it. Their ego is so fragile, they do shit like this. And I don't even know who Eugene is. I just know that I was made aware of this book and like the whole like this idea of women who are assertive having no problem fighting for what they believe is theirs, or the idea that all of these things are just no. I say they're naughty, they're terrible, and I'm done with them. Do you got any further?
Well, they're not very nice. I mean, I've said over and over again, I care about results. I care about what do your beliefs call upon you to do? So what does this guy, what is the call? I mean, there's a call to action apparently in this book, and it's like, what does this fellow want?
He wants boss.
At the end of the day, it's like to turn back to force women into a position of just going yes dear the entire time.
Or is he afraid of women who have bank accounts?
Yeah.
Or jobs or careers.
Yeah.
Or is he afraid of women who are smarter than him?
I don't know if I need to remind people of this, but it wasn't until 1972 that a woman could get credit on her own in the United States.
Oh, that's not a bad point. Maybe he wants that back, which reminds me of the next person, like who I think is somewhat naughty, but you can disagree with me if you will. Because my next person, he reminds me of this person, our current House Speaker, who has apparently been told by Moses, or told by God that he is Moses. Have you seen photographs of him with his wife?
No.
Because sometimes I literally had a moment where I looked at him and his wife and I was like, what are they, dressing up from The Handmaid's Tale?
Gosh, I don't know.
Because his wife wears outfits at times that kind of look like they come from the Handmaid's Tale era. But also, is it nice to claim that you're appointed by God to be Moses for the American people?
I think it'd be somewhat problematic for anyone to proclaim that they are Moses, actually. But I don't know about that. Maybe it's not. Maybe I don't know. Oh, you mean this guy? You mean this guy here? Yeah.
You're gonna show
him? I don't know if you can share that. Yeah. Yeah, this Mike Johnson. At Christian Nationalist Gala, keynoted by Speaker Mike Johnson. Right-wing media figures push anti-LGBTQ bigotry and claim that trans people are demonic. Yeah, well, that guy.
Also,
that must be the guy. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, we know that guy. I think I know that guy. The gala, hosted by the National Association for Christian Lawmakers, at least they're not calling themselves lawgivers like Moses, who's by the... It's interesting that the names of famous lawgivers, Hammurabi is included, Moses is included, a bunch of folk throughout history are included. The names of them I think are engraved on the edifice of the Supreme Court. Anyway, the gala, hosted by the National Association for Christian Lawmakers, a faith-based paralegislative organization, quote unquote, that produces model legislation for state houses across the country.
Is that model legislation for who?
For faith-based,
but which faith?
For themselves. In other words, they're a. I think it's important for people to realize these people consider themselves to be a shadow government. That's a shadow, a faith-based paralegislative organization.
Okay, but also, like, isn't it kind of like one of those things where they consider themselves the shadow government, but they also consider themselves to be appointed by God, and therefore no man can override what they believe?
So here's another, let me just say, the demonic influences, spiritual war, dear God. Johnson, who opened his remarks thanking the NACL, National Association for Christian Lawmakers. May I pause here for just a moment? Joseph Robinette Biden attends Mass every Sunday. He's a devoted Catholic. There are Christian lawmakers who attend church, go to temple. Well, they're not Christian lawmakers if they go to temple. There are theists that don't buy this garbage. This is a special kind of Christianity. A special kind of Christianity that's devoted to proving that 1 + 4 = 0. A special kind of Christianity that wants to demean women and other people that believe the Bible is telling them to restrict women's rights, to put women in their place. This is not. This is it certainly since it's as crazy as nuts as Amy Semple McPherson was back in the day, or as the woman who was widely touted as Trump's spiritual amanuensis thinks. I mean, otherwise she wouldn't be standing up there praising God. It's God. It's God. It's God. It's blah, 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 blah. This is a special kind of Christian who wants to make sure that their view, which they always say is the Christian worldview, regardless of the fact that there are 150 million different Christian worldviews. Just ask any individual Christian. These are people that are off the deep end.
Would you say...
Sorry. Go ahead.
Would you say that these are people who are not only off the deep end, but they're also people who believe that my way is the only right way, and they believe that America is a Christian nation, and it is their duty and their obligation to return America back to a Christian nation, even though they're completely disregarding the fact that America is not a Christian nation, never has been?
Well, I'll stop sharing this thing at this point. We can go into that, and we can go into that a little bit. Oh, we're talking about, by the way, folks, we're talking about naughty people here.
Oh, yeah.
These people are very, very naughty. It's very, very naughty to dismiss the dismiss outright and insist that your beliefs need to be the dominant beliefs in culture, when the plain fact of the matter is a whole ton of different beliefs exist. And before people got scared, before we got scared by the commies, the godless commies in the 1950s, before "In God We Trust" was put on our fucking money. See, we're enough in to not demonetize the stream by my using the term that I just used.
Oh my.
That was not the motto. That didn't appear on our money. "In God We Trust" didn't show up on our money. What did show up on our money was our actual motto. Official motto of the United States of America was "E pluribus unum," out of many one. And the if you look at the people who tried to forge a government for pretty much the first time, there's an awful lot of American uniqueness that gets built in, but historically, in world history, the first time people framed a democratic state that was not subject to God's rule, but recognized the primacy of the people to determine how they would be governed.
Mm-hmm. So
very unique in world history. Those people recognized that we could not be a nation if we established a religion, or that Christianity would be this, because there were Puritans in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. There were separatists, Protestant separatists in Rhode Island. There were Anglicans in New York. There were Quakers in Pennsylvania. There were I'm just going down the coast here. I skip New Jersey because everybody skips New Jersey. That's the way it works. Sorry, New Jersey. It is the Garden State, and it's quite lovely, but it's. There were Catholics in Maryland. Maryland was Lord Baltimore was the founder of Maryland, and it was his plantations in Maryland, and it was for Catholics, which is why it's named Maryland, because Queen Mary, the Catholic monarch who Henry VIII divorced to Mary Ann Boleyn. Okay, then we'll go through the Carolinas, and the Carolinas were an admixture of stuff. Then we go to Virginia, very Church of England. It was Church of England. It was Anglican. Then we go through the Carolinas, and then we get down to Georgia, and Georgia was the Methodists, my people. And there was not going to be any kind of common governance based on religion, because those guys apparently were smart enough to realize there are 150 gazillion different ways of reading the Bible. And it was a matter of, if we're going to have a government, we're going to have to set all of that, our religious and doctrinal differences aside. That religion is not the primary way of addressing conflicts between people, or a way of running a state in the modern world, like the 18th century. And now we've got these assholes that think apparently that it is. Anyway.
Well, it's and they allow these atrocities to go on. Like, I want to go back to that article, because Mike Johnson's wife was running a conversion therapy practice. That's what she was doing. That's what that was. That was basically dehumanizing behavior, because they don't want queer people to exist. It was worse than just referring to homosexuality or queerness as being bestiality. Equating it to that is one thing, and one level of atrocity that is inaccurate, but it's also the fact that she's running a practice. Her website's no longer available, but as far as I know, she's still running this practice, because they want gay people and queer people to not fucking exist. And they're doing this under the guise of America's a Christian nation. Well, in Pennsylvania, you had Anabaptists. Some of us were called Amish. And you know what? We came here for freedom of religion. Freedom of religion means like something vastly different than imposing your religion onto other people. Freedom of religion means you are free to practice your religion. It does not mean that you get to go impose your religious beliefs on other people. And that, quite frankly, is something I learned in my Amish home. But what I see, and what I've seen and experienced in the last 20 years in the dominant culture, and assimilating into the dominant culture, is that there are all of these people out here who believe that their religious beliefs supersede everybody else's rights to have religious beliefs, or to not have religious beliefs. And what they do is they do shit like that, and they impose their religious beliefs onto other people. It even goes so far as, like, they're trying to have this shadow government. And I say, in 2022, I spoke at a conference called Rights and Religions Forum in DC. And one of the things that people talked about there was freedom from religion. And my question is do we have the right to have freedom from religion in this country? Are we allowed to not believe, or to believe differently than these people who want to have the shadow government? And they're delusional, quite frankly, but they believe they have the shadow government, and they're running this country to get rid of and eradicate queer people.
Well, yeah, I think that's the chilling thing about this group that the man 2 heartbeats away from the presidency as we speak right now. The chilling thing is that this quasi-legislative body, self-described, the shadow legislature is a shadow legislature that they consider themselves to be shadow Congress, and they're not going along with the idea that Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of religion or the free exercise thereof.
Huh?
And the free exercise thereof clause is what they forget.
Uh-huh. And
they want the establishment of religion. They say in so many arguments that I hear on YouTube, especially from Christian apologists, the Christian worldview. I hear this so many times. Christian worldview, Christian worldview, Christian worldview. Well, the worldview of a William Lane Craig is substantially different from the worldview of a devout Catholic or a Eastern or an Orthodox Christian. The worldview of, I mean, there was recently that who's that nutter in Texas? Anyway, he had a debate. It was like a Christian round global guy. It's like believes the world is round, and a Christian believes the world is flat, and you don't read the Bible. 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 And eventually one of them just tossed the mic at the other one. The other one batted it away. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Or what are we gonna do with people that immature?
they're acting like children. And they're politicians, and they're supposed to be making laws. Like, I'm sorry, they talk about women being emotional. What the hell is that, Stephanie? He's throwing his mic at somebody. Like, what is that? I think that's naughty. Very naughty.
Very naughty indeed. And but the thing is, they get to say who's naughty or nice. They're gonna be Santa Claus.
Well,
but what's on offer there? It's like Greg Locke. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Ember.
Oh my.
What is on offer there? What's on offer there? So if you're a witch, you're obviously naughty.
Oh, hold
that was my best Greg Locke.
Hold up. I'ma stop sharing my screen, and I'ma reshare it, and I want to show you something. Because I want to know, because this is just, it's been, oh my God. I want to know what you think about this, because I just can't. I can't with him. It's wild. I think this is the one. Let me see if I can have it. Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna share this. Now we're gonna see this. Wait, if I can use audio, also share tab audio. Yes.
Got to do that, because you forget that and everybody goes, hey, we can't hear the thing.
Here, we're gonna start this. I just want you to see this.
campus, but especially in this tent, I do not want anything that carries the Starbucks logo on this church property.
Oh my God. Naughty. Naughty. Starbucks naughty.
That is Lilith 1000%.
It is Lilith.
It is a demon. It is sexual deviance. I am done with I've been done with Starbucks for a long time. It's communist coffee anyhow. You can go and drink a gallon of Starbucks today. That's fine. Don't you bring in cups in this room. If I see it, I'm going to tell you to take it out.
I love this guy. It's like...
I'm telling you, that company is not only one of the most godless companies on the planet, they are full-blown 1,000% a witch's coven. I promise you it's the facts. I'll stake my life on it. Starbucks is witchcraft.
Okay, you can take it down now.
Wow.
What do you think? Naughty or nice? You think he's nice when he's saying Starbucks is Lilith?
I don't know. I think he thinks he's nice. I think he thinks he's very nice, but I think it's pretty naughty. That's certainly a brand of coffee.
It is
That features
coffee.
a mermaid as the logo is cheese and crow. Witch!
Some days, I mean, I just find myself in need of more Lilith. I'm just saying. He said it's Lilith. It's a demon possessed. I'm just saying. I need my fix. Okay. This is how we survive the day. And he is preaching against the soul thing that upholds my entire fucking will to live many days. So I feel like he is naughty.
We need to put up a poll. If there any Christians in chat? If there are, how many of you believe that Starbucks coffee is witchcraft? And how many cups of coffee from Starbucks have you had today? I mean, this naughty or nice. This is like, okay, what are we doing here? Are we teaching are we teaching children the problem of evil, or are we just basically saying believe what your mommy and daddy tell you? And that's naughty. If you don't believe what mommy and daddy tell you, that's naughty. If you believe what mommy and daddy tell you, that's nice. And really, isn't that just sort of where we get with the whole? You better watch out. You better not cry. All of that stuff. Who wrote that? Who wrote that fucking song? Wait a minute, I gotta figure this out. Hold on.
I'm just saying. I just feel like, even if you've never had Starbucks, like you gotta at least test out the witch's coven. I don't know who wrote that, by the way.
I gotta figure this out because it could be really funny. Could be.
I do also have another person I want you to weigh in on if they're naughty or nice, because I mean, I have a few people in my back pocket that I feel are extremely naughty.
Okay, John Frederick Coots wrote the music, and Haven Gillespie. The song was written in 1934. Haven Gillespie. Let's see what he's an American Tin Pan Alley composer and lyricist. He's the writer of "You Go to My Head," "By the Sycamore Tree." That doesn't have a link in Wikipedia. "Breezing Along with the Breeze." There's it. I'm just breezing along with the breeze. That's kind of a cool song. I like that one.
I'm muted. My bad. My bad. Yes, that seems like a cool song. Like you should totally sing it.
Now let's see. I think I remember the tune. 1926, 1927. So anyway, this is like mid 20th century stuff. The whole naughty or nice thing with Santa. Making a list, checking it twice, kind of find out who's naughty or nice. That Santa Claus is coming
to town. You know, when I lived in Germany, like they would do like this thing where Saint Nick would come on December 6th instead of like the night before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It was like this whole other thing. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, it's not that it's kind of funny that it's a popular joke. But for some people, it seems to be very, very serious. It's it's the naughty or not naughty. You go to prison. Nice, you get to be one of the elect or something. And that's that. It just it's a little bit.
But I was nice for so much of my life, and like I still got like purgatory. So I mean, oops, did I? Let me shut up.
Oopsie.
Oopsie. I do have another video I'd like to show you if you don't mind, if you want to pop that
go.
up. Let's do this. Let's talk about this.
In 1778, President John Adams wrote that there are two things that he figured out from studying history that destroys nations the fastest. It was when women left off being modest and they left their domestic affairs. They began dressing like harlots and acting like harlots, never wanting to be at home and taking care of their children and their husbands. These two things are the greatest downfall of nations. Many women were outraged at my last video on TikTok about dressing promiscuously. They wanted to put all the blame on the men for looking at them and lusting. That's exactly like putting cheese into a mouse trap, and when the mouse is trapped from going after the cheese, yelling at the mouse. You are being a trap for men when you dress provocatively.
Did she really compare it to mice? Men are mice, okay? Okay. Men are mice.
And women know this. They see all the...
Go ahead, Stephanie.
I just want to share a letter from Abigail Adams to John Adams, March 31st, 1776.
Oh, I want to hear this. This is she making up stuff like she always does? Oh, my bad.
Okay. Braintree. Now, yeah. March 31st, 1776. I wish you would ever write me a letter half as long as I write you, and tell me if you may where your fleet are gone, what sort of defense Virginia can make against our common enemy, whether it is so situated as to make an able defense. Are not the gentry lords and common people vassals? Are they not like the uncivilized natives? God damn it. Fucking white colonialism. And Britain represents us to be. I hope their riflemen, who have shown themselves very savage and even bloodthirsty, are not a specimen of the generality of people. I am willing to allow the colony great merit for having produced a Washington, but they've been shamefully duped by a Dunmore. Again, it's like 18th century politics. She goes on to speak about the farm.
Wait, what?
She goes on to speak about the farm and the state of things.
Then she says, though we felicitate ourselves. I'm sorry. What? Okay.
Though we felicitate ourselves, we sympathize with those who are trembling least the lot of Boston should be theirs. But they cannot, in similar circumstances, unless pusillanimity and cowardice take possession of them. They have time and warning given to them to see evil and shun in. I long to hear that you have declared an independency, and by the way of the new code of laws, which I suppose will be necessary to make, I desire you would remember the ladies and be more generous in and favorable to them than your ancestors. Do not put such unlimited power into the hands of the husbands. Remember, all men would be tyrants if they could. Remember, all men would be tyrants if they could. If particular care and attention is not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion, and will not hold ourselves bound to any laws in which we have no voice or representation. That your sex are naturally tyrannical is a truth so thoroughly established as to admit of no dispute. But of you, as which to be happy, willingly give up the harsh title of master for the more tender and endearing one of friend. Why then not put it out of the power of the vicious and the lawless to use us with cruelty and indignity, with impunity? Men of sense of all ages abhor these customs, which treat us as only the vassals of your sex. Regard us then as beings placed by Providence under your protection and imitation of the Supreme Being. Make use of that power only for our happiness. And that stands in stark contrast to the video that you just showed.
Mm-hmm. It really does.
And I'm sorry, I get choked up. I get choked up, and I was crying a wee bit there.
Some things are very powerful.
Because those were the sentiments of this woman, of obviously making reference back out of belief in, out of a profound belief, makes reference to providence. This is the cultural milieu from which these ideas sprang. And yet we have a woman in a video from a few days ago, months ago, maybe a year ago, I don't know, who would take up arms, would foment rebellion in support of the patriarchy, in support of the very thing that Abigail Adams was telling her husband, begging her husband to reject.
Yep.
A man who was on the committee that wrote the Declaration of Independence, a man who was the first vice president of the United States. People make these appeals to the foundation of this nation. And sure, Christian principles were part of the philosophy of each and every one of them. But there was the deist Thomas Jefferson, who spoke of the liberties of mankind and owned slaves. Like, these, you can't think of you can't think in absolutes and come to an understanding of history thereby. People are people. People are complex. People are fucked up. People can hold two ideas in their minds at the same time. And yet, what are we to take from that? Are we to just say, well, this bit needs rejection and this bit needs acceptance on the basis of what our beliefs are? Or can we engage in a conversation about what makes for a better society? And that's kind of beyond naughty and nice. It's kind of beyond what works. It's kind of to the idea of what works. I think we could all agree. I think everybody would agree that wreaking death and destruction upon one another is not nice.
I think you're absolutely correct. I think also violating basic like human rights, when you start considering human rights, and we all have the right to follow religious beliefs, but we don't have the right to impose it on other people, because then you're taking away somebody else's religious beliefs. I think that's a consideration. That is not nice. That is very naughty. And I think sometimes people delude themselves into thinking they're doing the nice thing because they have twisted their religion to help them look at themselves and give themselves a pat on the back for what they're doing, because what they're saying is, we're rescuing these people. Look at the godless people in America, the heathens who are out there having these pride parades. We are saving them by making these laws that outlaw their existence, which in fact is actually human rights violations. Over and over. I think sometimes, is this better? Can y'all hear me okay?
It's a little better.
I think sometimes it seems like people don't really see their own actions for what they are until it's pointed out to them. They want to believe that they would never harm anybody, while they're simultaneously creating and supporting and upholding laws and beliefs and mindsets that have oppressed generations of people, and specifically the most marginalized people in the world.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest we continue to face the insistence of zealots who proclaim their beliefs are and must be paramount, that they must be the people that determine who's naughty and who's nice, that they're the ones, the ultimate judges, or should be the ultimate judges of who wins and who loses in this world. And, they're entitled to have their people are entitled to have a belief in some mythical afterlife where we, you die and God makes judgment. Okay, if you don't believe that you die and there's a God who makes judgment, that doesn't mean you're some kind of freaking libertine. What happens after you die? If you're a Calvinist, you die and God's already made the judgment, so it doesn't fucking matter. You're either one of the elect or you're not, and it's like no matter what you do, you're kind of. But you should actually behave, and. To me, the Calvinist point of view is like, okay, well, doesn't matter. God has determined who the elect are and who are not. But the caveat is you still shouldn't be a dick in this world. If you're a dick in this world, God will say, yeah, I'll let you in, but bad choice on my part. Because you were such a jerk. To me, it's the being the jerk in this world that matters, and the afterlife. If it's there, okay, fine. I'll be, if there is an ultimate judge, and that I go down the long tunnel and I see the light at the end and all of this, and it's like. And there's St. Peter at the Golden Gate and tells me I can't have that last cigarette. That's okay. But what matters is what you do in this world. If you're going to be a jerk to somebody else, if you're going to treat women like they're chattel on account of the fact of something that some other person wrote in millennia past, when you don't even effing know what they actually wrote because you can't read the language that it was written in, and you're relying on the interpretation of somebody who you go to on some Sunday and underneath a tent that screams witch at people. It's like, what the fuck is up with that? People, be smarter. When you're talking, especially when you're talking about, oh yeah, this is a Christian nation founded on Christian principles. Well, what about Abigail Adams? What about that letter? What about the back and forth? I mean, that is prescient. That's a prescient discussion. She's basically telling her husband, hey, you guys have been assholes. Give us a break.
What makes people then think that it's okay to sit here and do things like Project 2025? Because not only do we have our House Speaker, his wife, all of the guys in Texas, we got Project 2025. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's just get...
Yeah. It's, if you're not familiar with Project 2025, there's abortion and reproductive rights. And they're trying to get certain drugs removed, like mifepristone and misoprostol. They're trying to get the FDA to revisit and withdraw its approval of those two drugs. They recommend the CDC should update its public messaging about the unsurpassed effectiveness of modern fertility awareness of based methods of contraception. They claim that HHS should require that every state report exactly how many abortions take place within its borders, at what gestational age of the child, for what reason, the mother's state of residence, and by what method. Okay, let me just go here. Number one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, over 30% of pregnancies end in miscarriages. If you work anywhere in medical care, you should know that as a medical coder and auditor, anytime there is a miscarriage, the correct medical definition for it is a spontaneous abortion. They happen
well,
for...
let's be clear. Abortion is the termination of pregnancy before term, and you know it's the ending of a pregnancy before term. That's, and so yes, and definitionally, yeah, that's absolutely right.
The abortion is
it may be induced, but it also may be a natural thing.
It may be a natural thing. But abortion is the termination, the ejection of a fetus, specifically in this case. And that can happen for various medical reasons. A spontaneous abortion, spontaneous means it happened for unknown reasons usually, but it was induced on its own. It was not because they were given any of those drugs, by the way. And regardless, abortions are medical care. We do not get to decide or dictate. Like what law do we have that allows us to control men's medical information like that and send it to the government?
None.
And if you notice, it says, for what reason? So let's just put this in context with the little blue pill, because this is part of what grinds my gears. So men get to have the little blue pill, no questions asked. But now HHS asking men, why are you getting the little blue pill? Was it a natural cause, or is it something you brought upon yourself? And what state did you come from to get this little blue pill? Do you hear how that sounds? I'm sorry. This is Project 2025.
I have to chuckle at the, sorry to interrupt, but time will soon run out for you to give in 2023. Please share, please donate $2.75. You know, it's like these suckers are looking for money.
Uh-huh.
And they're looking for money based upon what? Fear? And what's the fear of? The fear of somebody being able to make reproductive choices for themselves?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. I don't understand where these people get off.
Uh-huh. Well, and there's so much more. And like, there's census citizenship question, which is talking about, you know, whether an individual counted in the decennial U.S. Census is an American citizen. The census population count is used to reapportion congressional seats and the Electoral College. The Trump administration publicly argued it wanted a new question to prevent racial and language discrimination under the Voting Rights Act. An argument the U.S. Supreme Court found to be contrived in rejecting the question for the 2020 census. Yes, right back here. The 14th Amendment states the congressional apportionment figures must include the whole number of persons in each state rather than citizens. There's so much here. And I'm sorry, but I only have a little bit more time. I know we started a little late, but I'm gonna give it my best to get through some of this. What you got, Stephanie? What you got? Can you see this climate policy?
Might have to, yeah.
It says Project 2025 does not provide strategies for reducing greenhouse gas emissions responsible for climate change. Heritage Foundation Energy and Climate Director Diane Furchtgott-Roth has suggested Americans should use more natural gas, e.g., methane, and greenhouse gas. That is more powerful than carbon dioxide in the short term and has become a growing concern among climate scientists.
Well, I quibble with the use of "an" in front of greenhouse, but seeing as greenhouse doesn't begin with a vowel, but that's okay.
I have trouble reading it.
Orthographically, it's kind of bad, but yeah, it's like
they want to. Anyways, so they want to appeal. They want to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act, a landmark law that offers the U.S. $370 billion for clean technology, shuttering the loan programs office at the U.S. Department of Energy, eliminating climate change from the U.S. National Security Council agenda, and encouraging allied nations to use fossil fuels. The blueprint supports Arctic drilling and declaring the federal government has an obligation to develop vast oil and gas and coal resources. Project 2025 would reverse the 2009 finding from the EPA that determined that carbon dioxide emissions are harmful to human health, preventing the federal government from regulating greenhouse gas emissions. The climate section of the report was written by several authors, including Mandy, I can't say that name, the former chief of staff of the EPA, who considers herself principal to the United States' withdrawal from the Paris Agreement in 2015. The role of the EPA was drafted by Bernard McNamee, who has advised several fossil fuel companies. 4 of the top authors of the report have publicly engaged in climate change denial.
While not explicit, this is definitely a faith-based agenda. It's saying it's taking a Christian worldview, quote unquote, and a particular Christian worldview, which says God will provide.
But Congress shall make no law. Did you not just quote that earlier?
I did.
Respecting an establishment of religion, or however it goes. I can never get it quite right. That's why I don't see it often. But it is the truth. And they're trying to circumvent that, or are they not? Because the next one is going to be expansion of presidential powers. So they're trying to... I mean, am I wrong when I consider this expansion of presidential powers, and I consider the fact that a certain orange-haired man that I refuse to name is running for president again, and I feel like they're trying to install someone like him or him in the White House, and then expand presidential powers to where they never have to leave the White House.
Yeah, it's just we want our king. We want our king back. We want our king, and we want our king imbued with the divine right of kings to make decisions. And we will elect a godly man king. Not a, we will do that.
But orange-haired man held the Bible upside down for a photo op after what they
he fucked up.
Anyways. I don't think I'm going to read all of that about the presidential powers, but what they're really trying to do is they're trying to base their presidential agenda on a maximalist version of the unitary executive theory, arguing that Article 2 of the Constitution vests executive power solely in the president. There's supposed to be checks and balances, y'all. There's supposed to be checks and balances, and I went to fucking Amish school, and I'm telling you, there's supposed to be checks and balances. That's why you have the 3 different branches. So, anyways, am I wrong that there's supposed to be checks and balances?
No, that's the whole nature of the thing. I mean, they were the Adams, Jefferson, all those folks from all those different states with differing religious views, different, I hate the phrase, but I'll use it anyway here, different worldviews. It's like, no, we're supposed to discuss these things and move the nation in accord with a consensus of views that appears to be good for the time. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to establish a humanist government. Like they were basically saying, at least the ones that were theists were basically saying, look, God, we're doing the best we can. I mean, and these guys are just going full on. We're doing what it says in the Bible. We're specifically the way we interpret what it says in the Bible. And the people come back at me and say, well, it's these namby-pamby Christians that don't go for every jot and tittle of the Bible. Most of them come out of fundamentalist traditions, and not necessarily one I come out of, but I don't want to be an apologist for my folks reading the Bible, but it shouldn't be a religious argument. We're talking about political arguments, and we're talking about things as a practical matter. As a practical matter, does it make sense to call for the extermination of a class of people? Does it make sense for does it make any
You know what?
sense for someone like Michael Knowles to call for the eradication of transgender ideology from the public sphere.
You know,
And by that he means transgender people. I mean,
You
it
know.
can't be denied. And you know, I'm looking at this section of LGBTQ plus rights. Rescinding of regulations prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, transgender status, and sex characteristics.
and then
Folks, that means you're throwing your siblings under the bus.
well, but then they also go on to talk about outlawing pornography. And they write, pornography manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology and sexualization of children, for instance, is not a political Gordian knot inextricably binding up disparate claims about free speech, property rights, and sexual liberation and child welfare. It has no claim to the First Amendment protection. Its purveyors are child predators and misogynistic exploiters of women. Their product is as addictive as any illicit drug and as psychologically destructive as any crime. Pornography should be outlawed. The people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. Educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classed as registered sex offenders, and telecommunications and technology firms that facilitate its spread should be shuttered. What I want to ask you is this. This is the bullshit rhetoric. This is lies. Because here's the thing. All of these churches, and I have yet to meet a single one of these churches that has never, ever covered up child sexual abuse. Furthermore, most churches in America have sexual abuse insurance for the perpetrators of sexual abuse. So when it comes to child sexual abuse, that's why we have the list of the Baptists. That's why we have the fucking Mormon church covering up so much money and covering up so many cases of child sexual abuse. We have the Amish church doing it. We have the Mennonites. We have the the churches. I've heard stories from Methodists, Catholics, Protestants, all kinds of churches. And yet they have the audacity to sit there and literally claim lies about something that if somebody is legitimately creating adult sex videos as two consenting adults, that is not a crime. But you know what is a fucking crime? It is a crime to sexually abuse children. And they can't they want to erase us on the claims that this is going to give better child welfare and equate less child maltreatment, when in fact they refuse to do anything about it when we bring it to them. When we come to them and we say, you have such and such in your congregation that is a child predator, they fucking send us away. They fucking ignore us. They silence us. And they tell us we have to forgive them and we have to move on. Well, that happened many years ago. You know, he's repentant today. But you know what they don't do? They don't fucking protect the children in their doors, in their churches.
Yeah, on the subject of porn, it's like Lewis Powell, the guy who basically wrote the program for the takeover of the Supreme Court ages and ages ago. He, in his decision, I can't remember the citation, but in his decision on porn, it's like porn versus free speech. It's like, I don't know what pornography is, but I know what it is when I see it. This is the problem. It's like you've got an issue with definitionally. What's porn in the I'm old enough to remember when depicting you couldn't under the Hollywood standards, you couldn't depict a man and a woman in a bed without them both having their feet on the floor. It's just you couldn't do it because of the standards, and it's really hard to. I think that certainly exploitation is something that needs some oversight. And you don't want to have people engaging. Exploitation is a bad thing. It just it does harm, it does harm to people. But as you quite justifiably say, that it's seriously pornographic to have people with people within a power dynamic exploiting that power dynamic to engage in things that satisfy their sexual desires because they have the power to do so. I mean, it's tremendous. It was my Father Paul Shanley engaged in that exploitation of a power dynamic and got shuffled around from parish to parish to parish to parish to parish by the Boston diocese for many, many years. That's far worse than dirty pictures. Because what he left in each one of those parishes, and worse yet, in the memories of every single child he exploited, was a lifetime of recovery from that exploitation. And to not give a single care, it's like, you can't just basically say, well, pornography ought to be outlawed. It's like, yeah, if you don't like Oscar Foxtrot, don't watch it. The people that are doing it, the people that are doing it, and people that are consuming it are there is a contract there between the two. That's okay. What's not okay is the potential for exploitation that exists there. And it's there is no way that depictions of sexual contact between grown folk and young folk can ever be on an even scale. And the fact that so many who was the most, there's always these cases of some focus on the family type guy being caught with a whole bunch of kiddie porn on his fucking computer. And it's like, come on. It just ruins people's lives. It's not good. That kind of stuff's not good.
It's, we had a prosecuting attorney here in Colorado who was caught up in, he was arrested for, I believe, essay of the children, of children or a child. I'm gonna look it up real quick. But he was working at the the district attorney's office. He was an ADA, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, there's, quite famously, the rescuing the Operation Underground Railroad guy, the Mormon dude, Ballard, I think is his name.
Here, I got the story.
He was mounting these things, and it was basically sex tourism for devout Mormons under the guise of rescuing kids from being from sex slavery. It's just that whole thing is just, what the fuck.
Now listen to this. Can you show my screen? This man, he didn't, it was more than just like he worked at one county, okay? His name is David George McConkey. He faces charges of SA on a child by someone in a position of trust. Court records indicate these alleged assaults happened from 2004 to 2013. 13 investigates confirmed with the 4th Judicial District Attorney's Office that McConkey was a former deputy district attorney from 2008 to 2011. He was arrested on August 30. He was released on a $100,000 bond. Based on a previously published biography from Torbett and Tuft, as a prosecutor, McConkey managed all aspects of heavy misdemeanor and felony caseloads. It appears he was also a partner at Torbett and Tuft after his time with the 4th Judicial District Attorney's Office. The biography also states that he has previously worked as a law clerk for the Department of Justice, the Judiciary Committee of the United States Senate, and the White House. I think. Yep. Anyways, I just, that's a thing. You reminded me of that. It does not matter. It doesn't matter. SA, abuse, oppression happens in groups around the world.
It does, and it's really hard, but it really needs to be recognized that a lot of the defense of this is cloaked in the language of religion. I mean, there are so many examples. It's hard to break it down. But you know what? We should really start talking about what's nice. We should talk about the nice. We should talk about the nice a little bit. We should talk about the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the Secular Therapy Project. We should talk about the efforts to help people who've been damaged by some of the stuff that we've been talking about here.
Can I
overcome
interject real quick?
And go?
If I may. So I want to say that I have to say, Into Account Our Stories Untold is an organization that serves specifically SA survivors from institutions and organizations. If you have experienced SA and you need support, please reach out to them, or you can reach out to the National Sexual Assault Hotline. I will put the number in the comments for you.
Hey, Dan D, $10. Thank you so much. Can I pay to get on the nice list, or is it a bribe and considered naughty? I think you're on the nice list. You didn't need to give the $10 to be on the nice list. You're on the nice list. What the heck? Let's do it. Thank you, Dan D.
And then another organization like Freedom from Religion, like you said, but there's also the Secular Therapy Organization. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They actually have groups that meet up online. You can go find their information on their website as well. They help people maybe feel a little less alone if you're struggling. Peer support groups are wonderful places when you struggle to have appropriate support post-cult or post-religious trauma, and you're trying to find a way to get through all of the things that you're experiencing. There's also a website called Hope Valley Counseling. If you're in, I believe it's in England, but they specifically serve post-cult trauma survivors and religious trauma specifically. Part of the best part about these organizations is that while we don't have a large number of organizations, we do have a few. And having those organizations available is now so much better than what it used to be. Like, I can tell you, like, the journey out of religious trauma 20 years ago was vastly different, or 19 years ago was vastly different than what it is today, what it looks like today in terms of what resources you have, the connections you can make, where you can go to meet other people who may be questioning or struggling with their faith, or they're trying to figure out, like, what do I really believe? Like, if you're struggling, reach out to any one of those organizations. Oh, and there's one more organization called Conference on Religious Trauma. That one, I believe you should still be able to purchase online recordings of the last one in October. It's run by Janice Selby, and she is a counselor in Canada. And she hosts it online every year. She's been hosting it online every year. And this is a variety of speakers coming from a variety of backgrounds who talk about different things and topics. Like, one of them this last year was about purity culture. That was pretty helpful. There were queer people that spoke there. So I'm just saying, if you're struggling to find resources, reach out. Some of us will be able to help you find resources for you.
Yeah, and and there are YouTube channels like this, other places here and there where you can find community. I got going in not necessarily in conversion stuff, but there's just a ton of arenas where you can find community, and and some of the people that help support this community, our patrons are Eric Ozols, Ryan Deneen Murphy, Dan D, Michael Wiseman, Katie Cotton, Cindy Plaza, Sunny Shell, Aaron Coalson, Phil Calderone, and Amanda McLeod. And there are other shows besides this one on this channel that you ought to be checking out. There's Thursday, the Sunny Spot. Saturday, this show, and the Global Atheist that was on earlier today. And Let's Talk on Sunday, which is a call-in show. Call in, talk about whatever you need, and find community where you can. Also, coming up next weekend, on Friday and Saturday, there'll be an extravaganza trying to raise funds to put together a 501c3 organization built around Skeptic Haven. And I encourage you to tune into that. There's a lot of really great visitors and guests who will be stopping by to share their stories and support this channel. So hope you'll all tune into that.
Dear Santa, this year I won't have time to play in your reindeer games. Instead, Skeptic Haven is raising money to get a 501c3 charity status. If able, please support us in our goal. The evening of December 15th and 16th will be many guests coming to celebrate Mythmas and to raise the money we need. You and the missus are welcome to join us. P.S. Your cookies and eggnog will still be there as usual, but tell Rudolph to not poop on my roof this time. I had a hard time explaining that to my parents, and a harder time getting it off the roof. It better not happen again.
Those are white-tailed deer. They're not reindeer. You can't fool me.
I got one more nice thing for y'all. Those
Nice.
are white-tailed deer. Also, those deer are common. Like,
I feel like I need a good venison stew.
I'm from Wisconsin, okay? Like
We need good venison stew. That's
I see deer in my neighborhood frequently. I'm in Maine, so just saying.
let's get together and make stew.
Venison's good.
Did I tell you that I won a fellowship?
No. Cool.
It's called the Borkney Fellowship, and it's awarded through the Rights and Religions Forum. There are 7 fellows. I put a link in the chat, but it's going to be amazing because it comes also like there's a group project and then there's an individual project, and so like it's going to be amazing. It's an honor to be there, and there are so many people there who I'm just grateful to have that, and I wanted to put them out there as well because they are an organization that I would put on the nice list. So there's that.
There are a lot of nice people around, and I'd be remiss in not thanking all the nice people that have stopped by today, the folks in the chat and everything, and yeah, it's been real. So we've been going for an hour and a half or so, and I guess maybe
Is it time?
it might be time. Mary, what are you up to? What do you got coming up? Anything in particular, or you just sort of?
Well,
Aside from Christmas.
Well, I don't celebrate Christmas, so there's that.
Okay.
I do celebrate the winter solstice. I find that much less traumatic. But aside from that, I'm currently working on getting the organization that I run as a nonprofit, hopefully to be finalized by like April or so of next year, I hope. Or maybe even later. I don't know. I just want to get the paperwork done, so I'm going to work on that. That's my current project. And I'm still submitting my research manuscript, but it is now out for final edits from people, so I'm just waiting to get it back. Still don't have it, I'm just waiting. But I'm all right. And I am pretty excited. What are you
I don't know
up
if
to?
what I'm up to. I don't know. I've got let's see. Yeah, probably hang out if Neil's got a guest. Neil the 604 Atheist got a guest. Which, by the way, you gotta if you don't know Neil's show, Neil features deconversion stories, and just about anybody in this community has been on Neil's show, sharing their path to a I know, Mary, you have, I have their path to dropping the God thing, and usually it's Saturdays and Thursdays. Really, it's really kind of cool. And yeah, so later tonight, if there's an after show there, tune in. I'll probably be on there. And tomorrow, I'm going to be talking with Family Dr. Ben and Hive Psi Bree on her channel. We'll be covering some well, mostly mocking atheists talking from their cars on account of the fact that my car is kind of effed up right now, and well, we'll be talking about that kind of stuff. And also, I have my channel, Steffi Cass. I've got a bunch of stuff on there that I don't have a regular time. I've been thinking maybe I should plug in a regular time to bloviate, but when something strikes my fancy, I get right on there and I talk about shit. So stop and subscribe, etc., to my channel. That'd be great. Anywho, I think we're Wes, it's an hour and 36 minutes.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I'm not